Hello and welcome to Divisive Issues, the foul mouse spoiler comic book podcast where we talk about comic books and comic book history. It's us, two comic fans and two non-comic fans talking about all that stuff. I'm Sly.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Darryl.
And it's the most wonderful time of the year, guys.
Yeah, Edgelord August.
It's Edgelord August.
I do love this month.
Careful, kid. You'll cut yourself on this edge.
You cuck yourself. Cuck. And speaking of cucks, we're going to Master Cuck himself.
King
Mark
Cuck.
King Cuck. King K-Uck.
Yeah.
We're talking about Mark Millar.
Yeah, Mark Millar, King Cuck. We're going to talk about one of the books that Ryan recommended because he read it and he hated it. So tell us about this book, Ryan.
So, okay, everyone who's listening is probably familiar with the film Kingsman, The Secret Service. Came out a couple years ago. It was like a huge smash hit. And I saw it, and I liked it so much that as soon as it ended, while the credits were on, I went on Amazon and bought this book.
Wow. It must be good because Mark Millar is our show favorite creator. Like,
Was this before you knew Mark Millar, really?
It's when I was still more on the fence where, like, because we were already doing the show, I think. Because I saw this, like, I didn't see it in theaters or anything. I saw it, like, you know, like on HBO or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think it was early enough in the show where I didn't realize that the Mark Millar books that I had really enjoyed still had all of his, like, Mark Millar-is, you know, like, so I didn't realize that every book had cucking yet. And I was still like, Red Sun is great. And then when Darryl read Red Sun, I still like it, but I was like, oh, it's still like Lex Luthor is still just a Mark Millar character.
Yeah.
And I hadn't realized how repetitive he can be. And then I read this. No, I know when it was. It was right after we did the Wanted episode. Or right before. It was right around then. Because I remember reading this and being like, this is the exact same thing as Wanted. Like, in almost every way. Just maybe it's a little less edgy. But it's still kind of the same book.
Did you feel like that on reread?
I actually was more favorable about it this time than before.
Yes, because I read this book and I was like, I think this is the one Mark Millar book I can say, like, I kind of like.
Me too.
I kind of like this book too.
I was like, wow, this is actually... I don't know if I would say I like it, but like I hate everything Mark Millar has created, so
yeah.
Like, relatively I really liked it.
Yeah. So it's like top 5 Mark Millar books with multiple asterisks after that.
Yeah.
No, not top 5. It's like it is much better than the rest of the stuff we've read by him.
This is like Edgeception. We've gotten so edgy with Mark Millar, we're like, actually I like him now. Actually, he is a good writer.
On the reread, this was better, but there still was a lot of things that I was like, why?
Oh yeah.
Why is this here?
It's
like
Mark
a
Millar.
lot of like, I don't know why Mark Millar hates women so fucking much.
Tell me, you got cucked and he has not let it go.
But anyway, do you want to give an elevator pitch for what this plot is?
Basically, if you watch Wanted, it's basically the same setup as that, but and also you saw the movie, obviously you know what it is, but basically this very cockney, lowbrow, punk kid gets the offer to become basically James Bond, and like he's like acting cockney and shit and saying fucking shit and fucking wankers, go piss off a rope, you solid wankers, while dressed up as James Bond, basically.
Yeah, and it's like his fancy uncle. Like this is like they're super spies, and they're basically like really high class. Like it's only people who have, I don't know, what are the qualifications? It's like the ex-military and like graduate top of their class people. So the fact that his uncle wants this kid.
I feel like you can simplify it further. It's James Bond if James Bond had to tutor Eminem, which is like Mark Millar's favorite. Like,
yeah,
concept.
pretty much.
He did look like Eminem.
But I wouldn't say it's fair because he is very key that he's cockney. Wanker.
Yes, actually, that's a good point. Which is again why this is like a better book than Wanted, where it's just like the world is shit and everyone's shit. I'm gonna kill everyone.
Now, one thing I want to point out is it's written by Mark Millar with art by Dave Gibbons of Watchmen fame, and it is co-plotted by Matthew Vaughn, who directed the movie.
Oh, interesting.
And one of the reasons why I think that's important is the dialogue is very Mark Millar, but the plot is a lot more reined in than usual.
Mm-hmm.
The plot is also very engaging, unlike most Mark Millar stories.
Yeah,
I feel like it has a very good flow to it. I read it in one setting, which I don't do for a lot of Divisive Issues books, and I felt compelled to read the next issue. I felt the twists and stuff came very naturally, and it kept me wanting to read.
And that's why I think that it's more like, because it's basically the same premise of Wanted, except our main character doesn't like literally rape a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm. Not just that he doesn't rape people, he feels bad about killing people.
Yeah, and he's a human being. He's actually a human being. Like he actually
like,
has motivations and stuff.
They show you from very early on, like he crashes his car and lets the cops catch him to not run over a dog, and then he feels actually very bad about the first people he has to kill. Unlike every other Mark Millar character who's like, I have no feelings, like I am Edge personified, and I don't care. He is, like Sly said, a human being. And I wanted to read more.
Yeah.
And I think that Vaughn is a perfect mix with Millar, because he is really good at taking Millar ideas and translating them to more accessible ways. Because not only did he make the movie, but he also made Kick-Ass, the movie, which I thought did the same kind of thing, where it took a Millar book that I find kind of reprehensible and made it like very engaging and fun.
Also, Vaughn has a lot in common with Millar too. He's like he's edgelordish. Like if you watch the movie, like there's lots of scenes there just to shock and awe, like the church scene. But generally, and like it's very high violence, like Kick-Ass and Kingsman, very high violence. But he's just a better writer. Like it's the difference between Millar and other actually good writers. Like Vaughn can do that style, but do it right.
Yeah, you can say there's almost that there's like a tasteful twist you can do to Edge to make it more palatable. Even if it is like there to shock you, it's like it shocks you, but it like can provoke you to think more. Whereas Millar is the type of guy that he has Nemesis crash a plane into a mother and a child, and it shows their faces before they die, and you're like, why though? Like,
yeah. And I think Vaughn also has a good knack for heroics too, because he did also helm X-Men First Class and wrote and produced Days of Future Past, which are like definitely two of my favorite X-Men movies. I think he just has a better view on like how to make likable characters than Mark Millar does.
No, he has a better view on humanity, you mean?
Yes.
He's just a better writer. Like we talk about Garth Ennis. Garth Ennis is more edgelord than Vaughn, but he can actually write while Millar can't. Like it's like Millar is not even good at his own job of being edgelord. Like he can write human beings, so like even the shock gets worn off because
that's I think something that's so key and hard to put your finger on until we talk about this is. A lot of Mark Millar books, the universe becomes so unrealistic to me so quickly, not because of the explosions and superheroes. It's just the way humans act towards each other. I'm like, these aren't humans. Like, these are not human beings. Not every person is just like, I would just rape anyone I could, and I don't care.
He has, like, the worlds that he crafts when he's untethered are so nihilistic that it just makes you hate reading it. Because it's like, the main character wants to be evil, but since everyone else is evil, it's like it doesn't matter. There's no morality to it. Like everyone's worthy of the same punishment, I mean, which is death.
Yes.
In those books, in every Mark Millar thing we've read, if humanity did actually operate like this, it would never have progressed to this level of civilization. Like they would have all just killed each other immediately. Like it's just not it doesn't work. And in this I'm like, I could imagine these characters existing in real England.
And the big thing for me, and I always say this when Darryl asks, why do I like Guy Gardner and not like Mark Millar characters? Mark Millar books are very mean-spirited.
Yes.
Like, Wanted literally ends with him saying, I'm fucking you in the ass right now. You're
the reader. He says that to the reader. I'm gonna fuck you in the ass.
On Fun, he talks about how the reader's a sick fuck for reading this shit. Like, it's all about, like, I'm writing fucked up shit, fuck you, reader. And you're reading it, so you must be fucked up, too. Everyone's fucked up, fuck the world. And I'm like, this is, like, if you read, like, there's a way to have fun with these ideas. Like, Vaughn can do that, but Mark Millar fundamentally usually can't. Like, even here, it's not really fun. It's like tolerable.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
It's like that's the best he can do. Like tolerable.
Yeah, I will say I'm like I was praising this book. I really do want to be very clear here that reading this book made me like the movie less, and I really liked the movie.
Yes. Yes.
Like I was looking back and I'm like, maybe I was wrong to like that movie because this like really just like tainted my memories of it. So it's still not something I'd be like highly recommend Kingsman. It's just like it's for Mark Millar, it's very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to be comparing this to the movie the whole time, but I do want to have one comparison that I think is neat when we start at the very beginning. So are we ready to get into this?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So, okay, it starts with a cabin in Switzerland where a bunch of, like, I guess terrorists have kidnapped Mark Hamill.
Yeah, literally, but not in the movie. The movie, he's a character played by Mark Hamill. It's literally Mark Hamill.
And that's, I like that a lot, that they made him like a professor who has to do with the plot of the movie, and they just had Mark Hamill play him, which is kind of like, I think that's a clever nod.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they did like the book. I think this is the one aspect of the book I kind of like in the Captain movie. Like, spoilers. Basically, all these nerd like icons are all being wrangled up, and everyone's
They're being
like,
abducted.
Being abducted, yes. So they're all being abducted. And everyone's like, "Who's kidnapping all these fucking nerd icons?" And the first nerd icon is Mark Hamill.
Which, like, this makes because I went into this with the lowest of all possible expectations, and as soon as Mark Hamill was on the first page, I was like, of course, Mark Millar had started with like a celebrity, and it just starts by them talking about like, hey, did you think like the prequels pissed on my childhood? And I'm like, this makes sense, but it ties into the plot, and I was like, oh, okay, like I need to give this book more credit because it's not just like. Where it was Wanted, where they're just, or like Ultimates, where they're just talking about celebrities all the time. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
right
This is foreshadowing.
If this was on Funnies or Wanted, they would just be raping Mark Hamill.
I think this is the first example of Mark Millar having subtle foreshadowing in anything ever.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to attribute to him. I think that's Vaughn.
Probably
Yeah.
Vaughn, yes. I'm gonna give it to Vaughn.
Like, maybe Millar's like, I want to use Mark Hamill. And Vaughn's like, all right, let me come up with a plot.
Yeah.
Like, so as Darryl said, these kidnappers are like, don't the prequels, don't you hate them? And Mark Hamill's like, I don't know, like Return of the Jedi came out like 30 years ago, like you should probably get over it. And then they're like, no, that's like the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
And he's like, what are you like? Is there a ransom? Like, what's the point? And then at this point, they all get shot in the head at the same time.
All the kidnappers.
Yeah, all the kidnappers. And it's a super spy who's here just to kill everybody in very like brutal ways. And
But I should say, like, it's not when we say brutal, like they cut off camera from one guy getting shot in the head. Like,
yes,
it's much doesn't mark most Mark Millar books. Or most,
It's
most
still
other
pretty violent, but like it is very worth noting that it is very toned down compared to like the
like a PG-13 permissible violence. Like you're like, okay, you're.
I don't know.
they get decapitated right
Yeah,
after.
because then he steals a snowmobile. And he's trying to save Mark Hamill, and he's like, just make sure you duck. And then he had set up wires, so when the terrorists ski past, they all get decapitated.
Yeah, it is gory. We should say it's PG. It is gory, but it's not
I feel like one of the big things is when there's no viscera, no internal organs or
Yes.
bones or muscle.
It's
That's
just
where
blood.
I'm like, yeah, it's just blood. So you're like, this is gross because these guys are losing their heads here. But it's like, it's blood. So you're like, okay.
And they're not like pregnant women
Yeah.
getting exploded either.
Goddamn
It's the
cross.
thing. It's just blood, and also they're all one. It's also one panel each time. It's not. They show
it's
people
not a whole
bathing.
page. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then he drives a snowmobile off a ledge, and he's like, don't worry, I've done this a million times. The parachute can hold both of us. And then the parachute just doesn't open, and they just die.
But my favorite thing is it opens after they crash and die, and then the people on the hill that they're chasing after them, they're like, "Don't laugh! Don't you dare fucking laugh!" I think that's actually a really funny moment.
Yeah,
it's
funny.
just Wile E. Coyote.
I know, but it's like funny that they acknowledge that's funny, but they're trying to make it serious. Like, we're fucking mercenaries. You have to keep this serious. Like, I know it's funny. His parachute happened after he died. But we have to keep this serious because the fucking man of honor just died. Mark Hamill.
No. They have to be serious because what happens is he reveals that the big boss guy that these guys are working for is going to be mad.
Dr. Arnold.
Yep, because they lost Mark Hamill.
Yes.
Yeah. So then it cuts to an
Cucking.
apartment in South London, and of course it's a conversation about cuckoldry because we meet these two characters. It's the mom and the stepdad of our main protagonist, and he's just like, you try to fuck my brother, and she's like, no, I'm just like not an asshole, and he's like, stop trying to fuck my brother.
You're saying hello to him.
Yeah.
And she's like, fine, I'll sit on the other side of the room, I guess. And this is when we meet Eggsy, our main protagonist, who comes in, and he's just like, is everything okay? And she's like, yeah, everything's fine. I thought you were going out. And he's like, can I have money to see Battleship? A real hype movie to go see with your friends.
I don't remember that movie in like 2 months from now.
Yeah.
And by the way, since it's Mark Millar, if you watch the movie, you know they make this character an asshole, the stepdad. But here they make him like want to give fucking drugs. They make the kid roll a doobie, the younger brother.
Yeah, they make a child roll a doobie,
yeah.
And the kid's like, doobie? And they're all like laughing.
Yeah, and like this is what I mean by the main character not being like the one to main character, because he's like, this is fucked up that you're doing this, and he wants to leave. Like,
even the mom is like, come on, they're just having a laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the next scene of like him driving, because the main character Gary, he decides to get up and leave. And he goes out driving with his friends, and they're all like drinking, and they're all also smoking joints. And they stole this car, And this is where, again, like I was giving it too little credit, where I was like, this is another Mark Millar nihilism world where it cuts away from people dying to show like an asshole dad and mom, and then the main character himself is stealing cars. But it like Phil says, he avoids the dog when he's being chased by the
a dog walks
cops.
in front of the car while they're getting chased by the police.
It also ties into like it's part of the point is it ties into this like socioeconomic issues.
Yep.
Theme where the main character is doing shit like this because he feels frustrated with his life. He's like, I'm stuck in this shithole with an abusive stepdad. We have no money. We're on welfare, and this is my life now. So when he goes and steals shit, you're like, he's not doing it just to be an asshole. He has like shit going on in his life that's like you can be like he shouldn't be doing that, but
there's reasons for his behavior, unlike Wanted, where they kept trying to tell us that he's a sensitive snowflake while he rapes people.
Yeah. So here's the thing: this is the plot and the subtext, but then we have Mark Millar dialogue where they flip off the cops and yell, "Yo, suck my fucking knob."
But that's not the worst of it. It gets much
I know.
worse.
it's the old Bill, isn't it? I've never heard that term for cops.
So he swerves out of the way to avoid a dog, which we immediately learned, like, you know, he's not the worst person. That's that's a noble thing to do. And they
Mark
crash
Millar.
into a pole. Yeah. And he gets arrested.
Not running over a
Yo,
dog.
watch
Wow,
me
he's
hit
a
this
saint.
dog.
He's a saint.
Because if it was a different Mark Millar book, he might like relish in running over a dog.
You would have ran over like then like up to his corpse or something like that. Like, fuck you cops, I'm fucking this dog. What you gonna do about it, wankers?
So then we meet these two spies in like at a restaurant. That one of them is Jack London, Gary or Eggsy's uncle.
Actually, what he's called in the movie. That's why Ryan keeps.
Okay,
No,
I was like,
he calls him Eggsy in the book.
Oh,
Does he?
It's his
I don't think he
nickname.
does.
Yeah.
I'm confused too.
I know. I never saw it.
I just know him as Gary.
Did you say you liked the movie, or am I imagining that, Phil?
I like the movie.
So you never saw the movie?
I never saw the movie.
Oh, okay, never mind. You guys have seen voice. I'm sorry.
That's true. That's our number one complaint on iTunes.
All his friends call
One
him
star
Eggsy. Even in this chase scene, guys, learn the lore.
Sorry.
Really? Wait, no, Ryan. Where the fuck do they call him Eggsy? I cannot find it.
Okay. So unless did they change it for the trade?
because you have a new edition, probably.
So they changed it for this new edition because I have the trade that has the movie cover on it.
Oh,
That's
Ryan's
what
always reading the trade. Like, just like, know about bomb episodes. Reading all this fake alternate history shit.
Revisionist history.
So anyway, he gets so Jack gets a text from his mom, from Gary's mom, that he's in jail and he needs him to come bail out Gary. So anyway, he goes and he gives the speech, and this is one of my big problems with the book is his speech is very like the politics where like you're only poor because you don't apply yourself and like you don't do anything for yourself and like you should just make something yourself and then you just be rich like me. And he like talks down to the mom a lot, and then he flashes a card and Gary just gets out of jail. And he meets back up with his friends who somehow are also out of jail.
Gary does.
yeah.
Yeah. And then we see Jack on a rooftop watching the friends, and he calls someone mysteriously and he says, "Can you do me a favor?" And that's the end of the first issue, where he says like Gary's like he reminds me of me as a young lad. Maybe he should follow my path.
Yeah, Jack London was like Gary. That's his point to know.
Yes.
Yeah, and I will say too, like while I understand, like I don't agree with Jack either in the talking down and being like you're just poor because you want to be poor. This is an actual worthy discussion to have. Why, if you are trying to better yourself, does the main character Gary act like steal cars every other day?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's worth talking about, even if in the end we might say, you know, he wasn't afforded opportunities by society, and that's a problem. It's still like not like a discussion.
It's a theme, and that's something Mark Millar never usually does.
Yeah, it's like
Yes,
it's an
yes.
actual something that you can talk about in a story, unlike every other Mark Millar story, and be like, I can kind of see why these characters are talking about this.
Yeah. Like, what theme is there in Nemesis besides super cops stop super criminals?
Yeah, it's thematically there. I just find that like overall when he makes these political kind of statements, he's always right. So it's, you know, it's one of those books that like I feel like he's talking down to poor people and then he's like, just be better, and then they are better, and then like they go back and they're like, oh, everyone else who's still poor here is an asshole.
No, I think they do kind of like later. Jack, he does relent and be like, I was too hard on my sister and stuff, and like
That's
I really,
true, that's true.
Since I have the means now, I should be helping her get out of this.
Okay, my problem is it's just that it feels like it's done through dialogue. It doesn't feel like it's part of integrated to the plot too much.
Yeah,
Like
I
there's no turning point where he realizes I was too harsh on them. He just says, "I guess I was too harsh. I just thought about it for 5 more seconds, and I was too harsh on it."
That's
Yeah,
fair, though.
that's fair. Yeah.
I do like that theme about like trying to be your best self, I guess, in this book. But it's also like it's so hard to compare it in this book because since it's Millar, it's so exaggerated. Where this guy's like, he says he's not like he has like an okay amount of money, but they're able to still like buy houses for other people and stuff. Like it's a lot of money, and clearly like Uncle Jack has the privileges that allow him to uplift himself from the society, whereas Gary's stuck like this because he literally can't leave. Like he doesn't have the opportunities that Jack does. So Jack's stuff comes off as like sanctimonious because he has a lot of But I mean, we also don't know their childhood, whatever. This book doesn't deserve this kind of analysis.
Yeah, they don't say how Jack, because they mention Jack was in the same kind of situation.
Yeah, he just pulled himself up by his bootstraps.
But like, how did he? Because
it's all through dialogue. There's no like, there's not part of the plot. It feels like Mark Millar wrote it, or after it's an afterthought. Like it should have a theme in there somewhere in there. The movie does a lot better where they actually have the reason why he gets a chance in the movie is not because he's related to Jack London. It's because Jack London was friends with his dad, and actually Gary's like goes to Gary saying you're such a fuck up. Your dad would be disgraced by you, and Gary says, "Fuck you! You don't know the lack of opportunities I had. You don't know our life I've lived. Fuck you." So then Jack London's like, "Okay, I'll give you a chance to see what you can make out of yourself with the opportunity." So it's more ingrained in the plot. While here, it's like an afterthought.
Yeah,
definitely. So issue 2 opens with a joint wedding on a beach.
This was the most mean-spirited part of the.
Yeah, this is the Mark Millar scene. This is like even the movie. This scene is too much for me. The church scene. Yeah. And this is the most Mark Millar scene out of the entire book.
Yeah. So there's like dozens of people getting married at once to like why is not important. It's like some publicity stunt or whatever. Mm-hmm. And our villain, Dr. Arnold, is this nerdy looking guy who's
Bill Gates. He's based on Bill Gates.
Okay, yeah, he's Bill Gates. And he's like, okay, turn on the like science device we have. And all of the wedding patrons just start murdering each other.
Like all the brides and grooms.
Yeah.
Like all yeah.
It starts with the pastor going, "Gentlemen, you may kill the brides." And it's a single panel of just men punching women in the face.
And like and they're like stabbing each other with like wine glasses. And then he's so one of the other villains makes a joke, and he's like, "Please don't make jokes. They're still human beings." And he like can't face it. And then he's like, "That's enough. Switch it off." And then there's one bride left that's like, "Oh my god!" And she's covered in blood, and everyone's dead. And they snipe her out, and they're like, everything went exactly as planned. And he's like, "Why wouldn't it?"
I was so torn on this, like at this point, because this book kept doing that to me, where it's like it's so Millar, and it takes like a few steps back to think about itself. I'm like, oh, that's very considerate. Where it's like, the villain doesn't want to watch it. I'm like, oh, that's curious, because usually like Millar guys would have their pants zipped down by now watching this scene. But this guy's like obviously like squeamish and afraid of blood, so I'm like, okay, now I'm more interested in why he's doing this if he's clearly so appalled by it.
Yeah. So then it cuts to a bar that Gary is meeting with his uncle, and this is when he's laying out like, "You should come join me. I'm a spy. I'm not just, the computer guy that's my cover story." And then a bunch of, like, assholes come over, and they're just like, "Oi, you out with your bum boy?
You gay?"
Yeah, and he's like, "You guys gay?"
That's literally why they get mad.
Yeah. That's why they got mad at Old Man Logan, too. I was all like, Mark Millar knows how to write some bar dialogue. A bunch of guys come in saying, "You guys gay?"
It's probably because this happened to him, and he's like, "This is a traumatic event. I need to..."
Well, actually, it's not just... It's to be fair, it's actually more they're making fun of them saying they're gay, and then they're like, "Oh, what is this posh prick doing here?" He's like, "This is a working class bar. You can't come in here with your bougie suits and everything."
Yeah.
And it's it's hidden behind this like really juvenile dialogue. Yeah. And then Uncle Jack is like, "Don't worry about it," and he just beats the shit out of everybody. And then the bartender knows him, and he's like, "Hey, don't worry about it. I'll give you a few minutes to leave."
Everyone's fawns.
Hey.
And then and at this point Gary's like, "Oh, you're like the real deal. I got to think about it. I don't want to abandon my mom." And then he goes home, and the stepdad is just a piece of shit. He's like, "Why would you have a job? Who would ever hire you? You're useless." Yeah. And she like kind of sticks up for him, but like not really.
She kind of tries. She tries in like a very like meek way, where she's just like, "Darren, don't start." And then I like the idea of you doing a course, but what?
His name's Darren in your version? Because in mine it's Dean.
Oh, it's Darren in ours.
What an unnecessary change.
See, Gary to Eggsy, I understand, because Gary's such a plain name that halfway through I forgot who was who. I'm like, Gary? Like, that's such a... Like,
hey, watch your mouth.
Sorry, Gary's listening.
Yeah, but the mom's like always, she's kind of between, but she always leans on like supporting him, and I like their relationship. I think partially because it was just a Millar book and I was ready for like some kind of like just really rudeness to come out of this. But it's actually like a nice where she doesn't want him to move away because like she relies on him for support, because like this stepdad is just such a piece of shit that it's like everyone around them needs to support each other to make sure that this guy doesn't ruin their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what pushes Gary to decide he's going to do it. And we also learn that Jack is the one investigating the celebrity case and the wedding case of how everyone was killed. So Gary goes with Jack to their like training place.
I just want to mention something going back to the theme thing, since we were talking about whether or not this is executed well. Well, they do have an interesting conversation in the car when driving down where Jack says, I've given up on trying to get involved because she keeps dating these abusive people and I'm done with it. And Gary says, I haven't given up yet. And Jack does turn and say, good. Like, he's like, this, maybe your motivation to like help your mom and your family might actually prove something. Like, and this might be, they don't really go into it enough, could be what starts to get Jack on the path of like, I need to help out more.
Yeah, that's the real thing of this movie. They don't go into it enough.
And one of the things too is he does mention like, why is she always with these assholes? And he's like, well, she lost her apartment and he's letting her live there. And we're at least 18 months on the waiting list for like public housing.
Yeah, she's financially dependent on him.
Yeah, and she's raising her son, and if she goes to work, he's just going to be like, they can't afford daycare. And they actually do talk about the socioeconomic issues.
Yeah.
That like it's there.
And then they go right into Millar stuff where he's like, have you ever blew up a helicopter? Dozens of times. Deactivated a nuclear bomb? 3 It's like, oh, yeah, of course.
I've had sex with Russian poets and...
Yeah. So then he's like giving them the tour, and he says like, you know, their head boss guy. What's this guy's name? The guy with the glasses?
Doesn't matter. Guy with glasses.
Whatever. He's like the head of the spy guy. He's Jack's boss. And he's like, all the other students are like high ranking from military schools, and like, you better show some promise because like, you're just some asshole off the street. And he immediately recognizes every gun from Modern Warfare.
Yeah, dude, look at all that gun. That gun's so cool. That gun's so cool.
Oh yeah,
it's Medal of Honor, actually.
Honor, which is the most like, why pick that one?
Medal of Honor was so big back then, I think.
Yeah, no, right when Battleship was big, you know?
Yeah, Medal of Honor, the only thing close to now is like the reboot game, which did so bad they had to shutter the franchise.
Well, this was like 10 years ago, guys. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, which that game came out 10 years ago and was so bad they shuttered the franchise.
No, this was 2014.
This book?
I think so. That's what it says in my book, but who knows?
Those are the fucking lies.
Oh, it's 2012 in ours, which is way after Medal of Honor's time. So Mark Millar's is old.
Well, maybe he grew up in Medal of Honor.
Yeah,
as
that's
a kid.
definitely it. Yeah. Anyway, it's not the
point. So as he's giving him a tour, we also see a bunch of James Bond gadgets.
Wait, also
I have to get to this. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it the sex thing?
Yes, the sex thing.
So he's like, we're gonna teach you how to like seduce and pleasure women. And he's like, every bugger thinks they're good in bed, but we're gonna spend the next 6 months covering the second G-spot alone. And like, so it's so Mark Millar. This is supposed to be a 3-year.
You're gonna learn medicine, physics, ballistics, languages, kung fu, botany, sword fencing, boxing, seducing women,
and most importantly, female orgasm.
Of course, Mark Millar, so he overdoes it, but it is kind of idea is kind of sound when you think it's supposed to be a parody of like spy movies, because James Bond always bones the girls. Of course, Mark Millar overdoes it by making it 6 months on studying the G-string. Of course, he has to overdo it, but it makes sense they'll have some type of seduction training.
Yeah, and actually, the action is actually so over the top that I'm willing to accept it just because it's like James Bond, like you said, is over the top in general. He's always is able to work his way out of anything with it. He has skills in everything. So if you are training super spies, like I guess you are just teaching them all this stuff.
And so then for his first like major assignment and like his first training thing, they just drop him in like the cities of London and they have him just like begging for change. And I actually like a lot of the training stuff they show. I think it's really cool. So it's basically for him to learn how to survive in a hostile urban environment, how to pay attention, how to be good at persuading people. Like you have to learn how to convince them that you're there, you know, like that you're playing this character and like, you know, and I think that's really interesting. And meanwhile, Uncle Jack is hacking a big government building in Beijing, and they all pull guns on him, and he's like, just give me 2 more seconds. And that's the cliffhanger that ends issue 2.
The next issue begins not with the cliffhanger, but instead it begins with some old dude with spectacles giving a lecture about how the Earth can only accommodate like 1 billion people. Like, it only has the resources to accommodate that much. And then Gaia herself will treat the Earth like a threat, and the Earth will warm up. Like, that's basically climate change is because there's too many people.
To be fair, I have heard this theory that, like, the Earth is like a living organism and it balances to take care of itself. Like, I've heard that other places. I feel like that's a kind of common sci-fi theme.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting idea. And this is a character Mark Hamill plays in the movie, this scientist. But he has a much smaller role. Here he's just a guy who gives Bill Gates the idea of his master plan.
They do explicitly say that, like, it's a good thing climate change isn't humanity's fault at all, and there's nothing we could do about it.
That's the unfortunate thing that I was thinking of, where I'm like, I'm cool with this idea and this theory of, like, the Earth is doing this to get rid of humans because humans are pests. It's just, it's so hard within, like, our current political climate not to have a knee-jerk reaction to climate change is not man-made.
Especially because he specifically keeps saying, like, recycling's not going to do shit. Aerosol bans aren't going to do shit. Like, we're already fucked. And so might as well just, you know.
Yeah, where it's like, that's a cool alternate universe thing to think of. It's like, man, what if that did nothing? What would you do? Where it's like, instead of now where we're struggling to get people to realize it does stuff.
I also think this is a very good I think the movie does it better, but I think it's a very good theme to bring up. The theme of these wealthy elites, like this is a very common idea in wealthy elite circles that let's protect ourselves and like most population population control basically. That's basically master plan. And I think it's a concept is a very interesting tie into the fact that Eggsy is working class stiff.
Oh, so you could call him Eggsy, but I can't.
No, you fucking revisionist piece of shit.
It's because Sly's working class.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sly's calling him Eggsy ironically.
Yeah. Anyway, it cuts back to Jack London, the uncle, and he just poots out gas out of his suit and knocks them out. So that doesn't even like really matter.
He just escapes.
There's some things where I was wondering because they have some of the dialogue from the scientist over it, telling like it's time for our masters to show their leadership as Jack London's throwing like these sonic bombs to knock people down. I was wondering whether or not it would seriously tie into it, but again, like the scientist, because the scientist is giving this speech, seems to have nothing to do with this comic whatsoever, and then he ends up getting captured later. So it's like, okay, he's part of this.
Well, he gets approached by the villain's like main henchman, who is just a pretty regular guy, but he has prosthetic legs. That's like his noteworthy, I guess, like design.
He's like Bond villain gimmick, like Jobs hat and whatever.
In the movie, this is played by a woman who those prosthetic legs are also swords.
Yeah, the movie does it better because the gimmick, it's like Jaws. It's like over the top gimmick being used as a weapon.
It's called Gazelle, which I'll bring up that the main villain has named him that, and he actually brings up multiple times. It's like, don't call me Gazelle. Like, that's really insensitive for you to say.
That's fucking funny. They did that in Kick-Ass 2, I think, too, where the bad guy gives racial stereotypes to all his super villain team, and like, can you not call me like
which I like.
Kamikaze because I'm Asian?
Yeah, because it's like that is actually that is a nice thing to bring up. Like, that was more sensitive in a Millar book than I would think it would be.
And it's nice to on the Bond villain names kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, so the guy at the glasses talks to another secret agent about how well everyone's doing in the training exercises and stuff, and that Gary like gets top-notch marks in identifying people.
It's bullshit. He gets like record-breaking marks, and he's leagues above everybody else. And like, if these guys have been training their whole lives, like, I don't know if I buy that, because they're like, his street smarts give him an advantage. Like, I don't know about that.
This at like most more ideas. This at like 10% could be effective. The idea because like when they drop him in the city and he has to like maneuver his way around the city to try to find information, stuff like that. You could make a really good story where his street smarts are more beneficial to their Ivy League experience. But he's better in every possible way than all of them. Except
in social interactions, which is like kind of confusing because it's like, why would he be like really lacking?
I think it's like high-class social interaction.
And that's one of the biggest disappointment of this film. I keep trying to refer to the film. But this book, and even the movie doesn't do this enough justice, because the idea is he in the end is conforming to wealthy elites' idea of class. Where I think it would be more interesting if he was more like the YOLO swag, I'm rich kind of, and he added that to their spy ring.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like they mix rather than he needs to go up to their standard.
Yeah, especially since in the book they say, don't change who you are, Eggsy, don't change who you are, and then he changes who he is to become the classy gentleman.
And that's why I feel like those speeches, even though they're nuanced, but when they're like, just be like us, and it'll be better, like at the end, that is what is better. Like that works.
Yeah, he had to pull himself up by his bootstraps.
Yes.
So while this is going on, they send Gary on a mission to kill a drug dealer.
Yeah, it's a random drug bust, and it's a drug bust to make it seem like a drug bust gone bad to the authorities.
which is where we get some of like the depth of where Gary's like, I don't want to do this because like these people still have like mums and dads, and they're trying to make money basically because he's seen it on the streets, and his boy's like, whatever, like they're monsters, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and then he doesn't pull his gun until his buddy takes out his gun willy-nilly and tries to shoot people, and then his buddy gets shot, so Eggsy has to take a gun to save his friend, so he does it to protect someone else rather than, oh, I kill some motherfuckers, fuck you all, fuck you.
Yeah.
And it also brings into like the question of like, what about the morality of this like secret agency that has literally no like police force? Like they have no checks and balances against them. They can just go and kill whoever they think are drug dealers, but that doesn't go anywhere actually.
Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. So, well, he gets his uncle's car tuned up.
His buddy who's helping, like the guy that he like saved by killing all the drug dealers, is like starting to warm up to him a little bit while they work on the car.
And then this is the scene we were hinting at, the scene where they have to impress women, and everyone's like, I'm classy British guy, hello chaps, and he's like, yo baby, how you want to go suck face, and everyone's like, ew, and
they all show up in suits, and he shows up in like, you know, like a hoodie and jeans.
Yeah,
and they're trying to use pickup artistry on them, which was such a stupid scene because it's like, all right, you have to like do one, you have to put them down.
They're telling them to neg them.
Yep.
And it's pretty gross.
It's funny because the movie actually plays on this idea where he starts negging them, and then the female spy is like, he's negging you, it's a trick, don't fall for it, something like that. They actually found that in the movie.
But one thing that is surprising about this book is he negs all these women and it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As soon as he started doing that, I expected it to like really work because of how Mark Millar writes women.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work. Even when he says evening ladies and like, don't even think about it, you dickhead.
Yeah.
His friends are talking about him, and oh shit, I forgot to mention that this is the thing that bothered me the most out of this entire book. It might be the dumbest thing to complain about. It probably is, actually.
Is it the...
Say it!
No, it's about the rating, that they get points for doing things. He said dancing with them is 1 point, buying you drinks is 2, open mouth kissing is 3, and taking them home and banging them is a 10. And my thing I was like blown away by is that having the woman buy him a drink is a 2?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think Mark Millar thought it was racist that much.
And to really maximize points here, you just want to dance with everyone in the club, right?
That'd be funny if Eggsy was so street smart, he would just maximize points.
Yeah, like one guy brings home one woman, but he dances with every girl in the club, and it's like boom.
So I was thinking, I'm like, yeah, that's how you win that game.
It's how you win. You min-max your sexism.
Yeah.
So they end up like just bashing him, two of his buddies, where it's like how bad he
even
is.
the buddy that saved his life.
Not in a mean way. They're just like
he got Barack Obama and Osama bin Laden mixed up this afternoon.
And they're basically just saying like, yeah, he's like good with guns and stuff, but like he can never be a spy. He has no class. He's just this like.
And they say it's not his fault. He just hasn't opportunities we've had, but like he just doesn't really belong, and it's like not his fault. But he's gonna get hurt.
They're like pretty patronizing about it.
They are.
Yeah. Just like Jack London, they patronize.
But like they're not wrong.
Yeah, I guess it's not like in a Mark Millar way where they're like, what a piece of shit. He's gonna get his dick cut off.
Everyone in the previous book, all his friends were like, he's gonna fail. Fuck him. All his friends that he got in the car ride with, his obviously the stepdad, they're all like, he's gonna fail. He's a fucking loser, fucking tosser piece of shit. But these guys aren't like that. They're just like he won't get it. So like there are some Mark Millar characters in here, but these guys are not like that.
Like, are you telling me if one of your coworkers mixed up Barack Obama and Osama bin Laden, you wouldn't tell someone else and be like, I like them, but like, come on. Like,
Yeah.
But they're from England. They don't care as much as us, right?
and this is relevant because they have their mics on the entire time. Eggsy hears it and decides to lash out. In his own way.
He goes and he steals his Uncle Jack's car and drives it to his old friends in the hood, And he's like, "Hey, check this out, lads."
I also want to say it's very telling to me that we're only on issue 4 of 6, and we've already gone for like 40 minutes because there's actually interesting things to talk about in this. Whereas like all the other Mark Millar books were like, I don't know, there's a bunch of gore and cucking, and then I don't know, it's dumb.
It's because Matthew Vaughn co-wrote it for sure.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we're not done with the cucking.
Yeah, thankfully.
Thank God.
Well, I guess I like this more because I didn't even make the connection that was cucking later on. And, like, I was just like, oh, this is just, like it didn't, we'll get to it.
It's a plot necessary cucking. It's not cucking just because, just for sake of cucking.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in Ultimates where the guy's, like, about to die saying, I fucked your wife, and they die.
Yeah, like, and that's why I didn't, like, it didn't stand out because it actually, like, had a plot purpose. But anyway.
Anyway, so... it starts with Jack sitting down with Gary, being like, "Why the fuck did you steal my car?" And then it goes through the chase scene where they were running for the cops. Yeah, running for the cops. He was trying to use an oil slick button, but he hit the rocket launcher button or something.
Yeah,
and it caused a lot of property damage. And he's like, "I'm trying to give you these opportunities, and you just are fucking it all up." And Gary says it's because they fucking laughed at me. Like even the nice ones, my friends, they're laughing about my accent, my clothes, the way I look. I just don't want to have to do this. And then...
And I like this actually...
I like this line a lot.
Yeah, he says, I don't want to go back to the States and I don't want to live on benefits. But it's the only place I don't get the piss taken at me for being poor, Uncle Jack.
Mm-hmm. And, like, I like that a lot where he's trying to better himself and everyone's still treating him like shit and looking down on him. And he's like, at least when I was poor, I, like, felt like shit about it, but nobody else was punching down.
Yeah. And Jack does get this, and he does try to tell him, too, like... Hey, see, like look at all these newspapers on the wall. This is from all the times I saved the world, and I'm not doing it for fame and fortune.
But you know that other newspapers actually say what he did. They all say like, "Oh, man, somebody got married," and he's like, "You see, I did this thankless job."
Now asylum if you're gay.
Yeah.
They must be free to go to Kylie concerts and drink multicolored cocktails, says Judge.
Which is actually photos from actual newspapers.
It's the newspapers from after the day that Jack saved the world to show it's like how many times he saved it, and like no one's had to thank him, but he's done a job that has had an actual like physical impact.
Helping other people is the only thing that matters. Public service is what gives a man real value.
We should also mention, like we're saying, Harry the Nazi and all these things. I think these are real articles because they're photos of Sun articles.
Yep.
They do look like real articles from like the Sun and stuff.
Yeah. So
I'll look up Now Asylum if you're gay.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Will you come back if you'll be my apprentice?" And he's like, "I guess I will." And then he gasses him and then drops him naked in the middle of Colombia or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You have 24 hours to get back to England, or you're out of the program."
And the thing that I like about this is he says, like, I thought you were going to take me in a ring. He's like, yeah, but everybody else still thinks you're an asshole, so I have to prove that you're worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they tell him, here's an address with plane tickets at this house, and the plane leaves tonight, so you have 24 hours. Go get those plane tickets, get up to the airport, and come home. And some cop comes over to him and starts speaking Spanish to him, and he doesn't understand any Spanish, so he punches him in the face, steals the cop car.
The cop asks him, is he naked because he's gay? Which is another good, just jabbing at gays.
Yeah.
But to be fair, it's in Spanish, so only if you know Spanish do you know he's saying that.
He says, una cosa gay?
You could be homophobic if it's in another language.
Well, it's Colombian culture, Darryl. Don't be, I don't know, whatever the term is for being in some cultures.
Oh, you're right. This is a necessary critique of the Colombian police homophobia.
Yeah, this is cultural relativism at its best.
He does say, una cosa gay, you can guess what he's saying. He's saying that.
And so he goes to the address dressed as a cop, thinking like, okay, I'll get, Jack says it's a local businessman's house, and of course local businessman in Colombia means a drug lord. So as he shows up, they just start shooting at him, and the cop in the back is like, what the fuck are you doing? This is a big drug baron, like you can't just go here. So I guess the MI5 or whatever, the spy agency, put plane tickets in this guy's house for him to get.
Yeah.
They're super spies.
They are super spies.
They're not going to stop him because the FBI wants him. They're just going to put tickets in his house.
Well, we know that they're like very unethical already.
Yeah.
And then Gary's like, "Hey, wait a second. Do you have any machine guns in the car?" And the cop's like, "Of course I do. It's Colombia." So then he just kills every drug dealer in the
In one page.
Except the Baron.
One
In
panel.
one page. That's one thing. Another thing that Matthew Vaughn does better than Mark Millar is he can actually write action scenes. And it's funny because the scene before with the cop, it actually shows how Wesley Jackson,
Wanted, yeah.
Yeah, Gary Gary is resourceful because when he punches the cop, no one expected him to do that, but he says like the cop had I can take his navigation equipment and use that to find where the place is.
Yep,
and,
and
like,
I put my sirens on. I won't get stopped. And
yeah,
like
but then this scene he's just like, how do I solve this problem? I shoot everyone. That's his.
Yeah. And then we cut to England, and they're like, he's not going to make it. You're an idiot for trusting him. And he's like, he'll make it. And they're like, he wasn't on the plane that took off. And he's like, maybe he's using an alias. And then a plane lands, and it's the drug baron's private jet, and he gets off with it, and he's like, see ya. And they're like, great. So Jack is like, Gary's in the program officially again, and Jack teaches him how to dress like a fancy man.
And I hate this, by the way, because he says, first of all, thematically, for the reason we mentioned, like he's conforming to the suit shit, but also now they look way too similar on the page.
Yeah.
I agree with that too. Yeah.
Are you telling me that he doesn't look fancy though? He fucking does, and suits are cool.
He also doesn't look like he's 20 years younger than this guy, because they have the same level of wrinkles on their face when they're drawn.
But maybe that's critique on just once you become like a rich white guy, you're just
You're all
part
the
of
same.
crowd.
Every rich white guy just ages to rich white guy status.
So he teaches them how to dress and get haircuts and things like that. And then, so we go back home for a little bit, and we see that the mom is setting up a welcome home party for Gary.
Mm-hmm.
And the dad gets jealous and starts being a shit of her.
Yep.
Well, because she stands up like explicitly, because he's like, what is this supposed to make up for all the years you were a shitty mom? And she's like, oh, don't start. I've had enough of your rubbish. I'm not in the mood for this today. And he's like, what'd you fucking say to me? And that's the first time that she hasn't like, now, like she actually says like, fuck you.
Yeah, and then it cuts to now Gary's going home and dressed in a suit, and he has a bouquet of flowers for his mom, and everyone's like commenting on how sharp he looks, and it's like it shows that he's more confident, and he's still like Gary on the inside. But when he gets inside, his mom has a black eye.
Yeah.
And so he's like, he goes to find the stepdad.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that stood out to me is like kind of a really sad moment is he's like, did he hit you? And she's like, we hit each other. I gave as good as I got.
And that's a very common thing in
And it's not, we see him and it's not true at all.
Yep.
But that is people say like
It's a good touch. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not complaining about it. I'm saying like that is a nice touch to show like how
That she
even though
gets
it's not her fault
defensive.
at all,
Yeah.
she's defensive about it.
We talked about this in Ultimates, but like Mark Millar's the only thing he's good at is writing is abusive relationships because it is very common when a relationship is abusive, it degrades both people's behavior. Like the wife will because violence becomes a standard part of the relationship. So
Yeah.
So like it is likely that she might hit him back, but obviously, just like Hank Pym versus Janet, you could tell which one's a real piece of shit. In this relationship.
Also, as an aside, the spy organization finds out that it's James Arnold, and they want Jack to infiltrate because they're like, who else would kidnap Mark Hamill, Tony Robbins,
The Battlestar Galactica crew.
and Hanna-Barbera animators.
Yeah. And when we say when I said Bill Gates, like it is like a very like wealthy elite tech kind of guy, and he's very nerdy, and
he's
like,
very Silicon Valley.
He's
he
a
made like
cell
phone
phone entrepreneur.
Yeah. So the issue next issue opens up with him being the shad of his stepdad, and I actually like to see. I wish they had it in the movie. The dad never gets his comeuppance. But here he just beats the shit out of his dad, and then his dad's friends show up saying, "We're sick of you mouthing up to your stepdad. We're going to show you some respect."
He does have a good line of when Gary's like, I'm going to fight you. And he's like, what? You're going to smack me in the knees with your balls? I don't know why that made me laugh.
Oh, go to hell.
That's a very good Cockney line. Very authentic Cockney kind of insult. What, you going to smack me in the knees with your fucking balls, mate? But so then they're like, we're going to beat the shit out of you. We're going to teach them respect, which I also like. It's a very nice touch. A lot of these people who are shitheads, they feel like the world owes them respect.
Defending the shithead honor from this guy in a suit.
It's like Trump people. Trump people want everyone to respect them. Like,
because what happens is then Gary's like outmatched, so he just pulls out something that like it's a neural disruptor, and it gives them the effects of a minor stroke. So they're standing there in pain, and he just takes a pool cue and just starts I
didn't like that either. I'm like, what kind of? He's like, respect's got to be earned. Is this how you earn it? Like,
there's a big jar that goes to charity that he smashes, so all the money goes all over. That's just shitty.
Yeah, I don't like how he does either. Like, I wish he just beat the shit out of them. Like,
because it's literally him using his like money and resources to beat up these guys with nothing. When he fights his stepdad, it's a lot more balanced because that's one-on-one, and he just beats the shit out of him. And he's like, "You're nothing to me now."
And, like, you could make a case that he is showing them what it's like to be the helpless one being preyed on.
Yeah, which isn't, like, but they are, as like, it's poor people, they are that already.
Yeah.
It's making them the victims. It's punching down now. It feels like.
Because now he's above them.
And he's like, "You respect me now, Big Billy."
He just brings out technology to make you paralyzed. Like,
Yeah, and then he pulls out a gun and points at his stepdad and says, "I have a license that will let me kill you. Never mess with me again."
And he says, "Leave my mom alone too."
Yeah. Like I like that. There's comeuppance, but I don't like the way he went about it.
Yeah.
And the cops show up and they're like, "What the hell's going on?" He's like, "Don't worry, I have my fucking get out of jail free card." And they're like, "What? They're giving it to fucking anyone these days?" Because they probably arrested this guy a million times.
And now I like another scene I really like. He gives his mom a new Gary gives his mom a new house, and it's like a nice
well, she
loft.
basically just has like a nice apartment.
Yeah, and,
like it's not like she has like some mansion or whatever. It's just like a nice loft.
Yeah. And I like, and she's like, I don't deserve this. Like, how can we afford this? And he's like, okay, I'll take care of it. Me and my uncle will both pay for it. I thought, like, this is a scene that would not happen in any other Mark Millar story. A character just having a happy ending.
It's
basically
the best scene in the whole book and stuff, because it's like it's actual genuine human emotion and commitment to one another. Where it's like it's also Uncle Jack helped to open a special bank account with Gary for the mom, so it's like it's a turning around. It's Gary wanting to do what he always wanted to do for his mom and his little brother, which was give them a life that was better, and now Uncle Jack trying to like redeem his
make up for
it's very sweet.
The thing that I really like about it too is the tour that he gives is very much like the stuff he's pointing out is very something from like a lower class that's moved up to the middle would point out. Like he's like, I'm sorry that the sofa's secondhand, but the washing machine's new, the microwave's new, and look, we got new knives and forks. Like that's something like a rich person wouldn't think to point out.
Yeah, and the little kid is like excited because his bed has a slide now instead of just a ladder, and that's like a little cute little touch there.
Yeah, it's just like a very, like you guys said, a human, relatable scene.
I like specifically with that Gary says, I always wanted one of these as a kid, because he's clearly like trying to give his little brother the childhood that he never had.
Yeah. And so now we got to Bill Gates. He's talking about his master plan with Gazelle.
Well, wearing an alien shirt.
Oh yeah, he's going to meet Ridley Scott here because he's like, I can't kidnap him. He's too like, I can't.
Such a great
He's
director.
so smart. He'll just trust me. He'll believe me.
So his plan is to have everyone all the poor people basically kill each other, while he protects all his nerd friends.
He wants to kill the population down to 1 billion. So he's like, we're at like 7 billion now or whatever.
Well, we get this in an exposition dump later.
Yeah, but we basically explain this. Might as well just tie it up.
But the way it's done in the book is so weird, though.
The way it's done is also like I think I figured it out like after book one I figured it out and they kept mystery. So like it's another thing they drag it out too long. We cut to Jack and his uncle. They're on a mission to find out more about it. So now here's a cucking scene, and like we said, it's plot related because Jack London is going to fuck Bill Gates' wife.
And he even says, like, these rich guys, they're always bad in bed, and they're, like, it's so easy to seduce their girlfriends.
Yeah, because they're so sexually frustrated, because all the rich guys do is, like, care about world domination, while the women just want to be pleasured. Yeah,
they're workaholics, they work a wife, and the wives aren't usually just sign on to get a better life or something, they're not signing on to killing the world, so, like, they're usually the mark you go for. You fuck them, and you get the secrets to the master plan.
And the way this is framed, it's so, like, this woman does not exist outside of how the man treats her and what his personality's like.
The thing is, it makes sense. It is what happens a lot of times. Like in these movies, at least the movies are parroting. Like
I get that, but like if there was a female character in this book,
exactly. If it was a veteran scene, if she was a character outside of this, the woman exists outside of the sexist stereotypes. It would justify sexist stereotypes a bit more.
That's what I'm saying. Is like there's only like 2 women in this whole book. One is his mom, who only exists in the way she's treated by her husband and by Gary, and then this girlfriend who is just an extension of that. And that's one thing I like a lot more about the movie is there's a lot more diversity, there's a lot more different races represented, and there's a lot more women in it. Like he has in the movie, he has a counter agent that is a woman that's training with him. That's a lot. Like to me, that's a lot more interesting.
Yeah, whereas here, like Jack seduces the girlfriend. And this is when we get the exposition dump with nudity every other frame, just in case you're getting bored of reading text.
Yeah, while she's expositing,
Yeah.
we just get to see her boobs.
That's a very common thing in fiction nowadays. If you have a bunch of exposition, just have a naked chick on the panel.
Thanks, Game of
Or-
Thrones.
And she says it's gonna be cell phones. He's gonna have in his telecommunications. He's gonna have radio waves, which is the plot of a Stephen King novel called Cell, where radio waves make everyone go crazy.
Oh, also one thing I want to point out, I was surprised because I wasn't sure that Mark Millar knew what cunnilingus was, but apparently he does. That was just surprising to me.
And here's another good twist because it happens like out of nowhere. Jack London goes to answer the door because they think champagne's coming, and it's actually Gazelle just shooting him in the face. And now they grab the wife, and Bill Gates is basically like, "Oh, like why are you doing this again? Like you fucked another wife guy again? God damn it!
We agreed Dubai was the last time, which specifically makes it cucking when he knows she's cheating but stays with
Yes,
her.
it is cucking. It's not just cheating. It is
Yeah,
cucking.
which is an important clarification for Mark.
And this is what I mean. What this keeps the twists going really well because I was getting a little bit out of it because it resolved Gary's arc with him helping his mom, and now he's now he's an agent. But now Jack London dies, so now it's up to Gary to save the world by himself, basically.
And this is the only panel when we see Jack's dead body. This is the only one with like viscera, like you see like his brains and stuff.
Yeah, the only gory scene really.
Yeah,
Like,
because
law standards.
Yeah, but like I feel like here it's more earned because this is like one of our major characters.
Yeah.
So like it kind of like it resonates more.
Also
than
shows
just
you,
the usual.
it shows you that he's dead, which is sometimes the important point of violence is to be like, this person is like gone. They no longer, they cease to be.
This isn't some comic book bullshit where he was,
Although
back at the end.
he did die in a very like unelegant way, where it's just like, oh, let me go answer the door.
Yeah, I thought for Super Spies, it's like,
yeah, like you hear someone knock at a door of like when you're banging a super villain's wife.
yeah, it's pretty like a rookie mistake. But then I guess it goes
Rookie
with, like,
mistake.
it's like it goes with the beginning too, where like that guy just died from
This
jumping
shows
off a
like
cliff.
it shows there's some great grit to this universe in some way. Like everyone's
Both
super
of them die from their ego.
Yeah, their guard gets let down. Like they think that we got it. Like he as he's going to answer the door, he's like, "We solved the problem. We're gonna kill your husband. Don't worry, we got this." And then he dies.
Also one other thing that made me very uncomfortable is while he had sex with that woman, he was making Gary watch through their like spy glasses.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Is like especially problematic.
Which is weird as hell.
Yeah,
That's a
it's
very
kinda gross.
Millar touch. Like, haha, he had to watch his uncle bang a woman.
Gary goes back to the base and he's mourning his dead uncle, and instructor / like gadget guy.
The guy with the glasses that has been there since the beginning.
Let's have a toast. And then he's like, I'm working for Arnold, the Bill Gates guy. We wanted to recruit Jack, but now he's dead, so we're going to recruit you. I've tried to save the world for so many years. Now I'm like, fuck it, let's just kill everyone too.
No, because he says we're fighting a losing battle this way.
Yeah.
So if this is the only way to actually start a new world, if we kill most of the people and we keep the greatest intellectuals alive, then the world will be better after this.
Yeah, and then the guy's like, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Gary says, fuck off, I'm not interested.
Yeah, and the guy's like, I'm sorry you feel that way, I'm gonna kill you now. He presses a button to activate the poison that was in the drink, and Gary's like, "Fuck you, fucking idiot! You taught me how to swap the drinks like day one. You drank the poison, you idiot!" And the guy dies.
Darryl, so this guy's played by Michael Caine in the movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out when he could have possibly
That's what I
switched
did,
these
because
drinks.
he said that. I looked up, because I'm like, okay, there has to be like some kind of like reference.
They're holding
that,
drinks
like,
at a
was
time.
drawn.
They're never not holding drinks.
Yeah, the guy with the
He
glasses
hands it to him.
makes the drinks.
And then hands it to him, and they both standing opposite from each other, facing each other, drink it together. So it's
Holding
like,
the drinks. It's not like they're on the table and they swapped around. They're
I was
holding
like,
the drinks.
why not? If you're going to include that as a plot point, have some subtle like. It doesn't have to be that crazy. Just show them both on the table so they.
This
could
scene
have been
is done
swapped.
way better than the
Yeah, in
movie.
the movie they show like he's like what's that over there, and the guy swaps it. It's kind of comical, but it happens that way.
Yeah.
So it's important that as he's dying, Glasses guy is like, you'll never know who to trust. That people at the highest levels are in on this. So then Gary's like, I guess I'll go to the bottom, and he asks all his like recruits to join.
I
him.
like that a lot. I think that's a cool
Yeah,
touch.
I like that touch. And I like that all the young recruits are now going to save the day. So they're going to the base. Meanwhile, another guy's trying to go in the giant hot air balloon to destroy the satellites.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. So
I think it's a cool thing, but they did not like. I was trying to think, was this a guy that they showed earlier in the? Was this like the?
That's one huge problem with the story is the other character. The other characters are not well established.
They should have done like there was a guy that Gary scored second just to this guy who's like the world's best sniper that can snipe miles away.
Hey, guess what happens in the movie?
Yeah, I was just about to say another thing the movie does better is have other characters in the recruit program.
Okay.
The other characters are more developed. The only character that gets developed is the guy who his life he saves in a drug bust. That's the only character who gets defined really.
I don't even remember his name.
Yeah.
Nick.
So then they go to on the plane to the base, and they all jump out. They start killing a bunch of motherfuckers. They crash the plane into the building as they jump out. The plane kills people. Everyone starts dying. I'm jumping over it, but there's not much nuance to it. Like
it's a lot of fighting.
Mark Millar's not that great at fight scenes, but there was one good scene where Gazelle is like disarming Gary.
Gazelle, importantly, is an ex-Secret Service guy. He was a super spy who, once he got injured and lost his legs, he got recruited by Arnold.
Yeah, so as he's fighting Gary, he's like, I've seen this shit a million times. He just basically keeps disarming Gary as he takes out like this gas glove, his stun grenades, a dart firing watch, and the cyanide pike. And the funny thing is, like, the whole thing's supposed to set up like, how's Gary gonna take this out? And Gary just takes out a pen knife, a pen laser, and lasers him, saying, "Oh, here's the thing: you weren't around before they created," and that's how he solves him. Like,
it's so dumb because it's like he lets him pull it out, an unknown device, and he's like, "Whoa, just use it."
No, he thinks it's a pen knife. He's wrong. He's like, "What now? A pen knife? Like seriously, you're coming at me with a knife?" Which is like, it makes sense. What's dumb is he gets all of his limbs shot out with a laser. He's on the ground. And he goes, "Holy shit! Is that new?"
And Gary goes, "Shut up!" And he shoots him in the head.
There's no good comeback. Gary gives no good comebacks in the story at all. He just says, "Shut the fuck up," and he kills him. And
which I kind of like.
It's so
But it's just weird. Like, imagine being shot, then you're like, "Wait, what is that gun you used to blow me away?"
Because imagine a James Bond movie where all the villains set up one-liners, and he just goes, "Fuck you."
But
also,
funny.
You guys were complaining about no women. The girlfriend actually takes a gun out and goes to Bill Gates and is like, "I'm not going to let you do this." And then Bill Gates is like, "Hey, Cyclops," his one-eyed bodyguard, and he shoots her.
And he's like, "I wish you would have called me White Cyclops, by the way." And he's like, "Whatever, go do your job, Cyclops." but yeah, she does rebel at the last minute and die for it. So she had an act of her own volition to save the world.
But it's too late because the countdown completes and the satellite, the guy that's supposed to snipe the satellite, there's no satellite near there. They got like the wrong information and the balloon pops.
Yeah, and the balloon pops because they're in the.
And as he falls to Earth from space, he goes, "Shit."
And here's one thing I like better than the movie. The bad guy's like, "I won, you lost." Everyone's
I hate this.
I love it. He's like, everyone's gonna kill each other, and it turns out they hacked the server, and now everyone's gonna fuck each other, and everyone in the world just starts fucking.
No, I think they're just kissing.
No, they say like these. I think they fuck each. I think they're gonna fuck each other.
They have to fuck each other.
There's a lot of making out at least.
Oh, it's true. And they do say this is gonna go on for 19 minutes.
Yeah,
so
and there's people jumping up in one frame on a panel. It's women jumping on top of men.
And there's two cops. There's two cops, and one of them's like, "I just can't help it, I'm so fucking horny," and the other cop's like, "Me too," and then they make out. It's weird.
But that's why I like it. It's like it's such an edgelord fuck you kind of moment, but it's a good edgelord fuck you moment because he's like, I'm gonna solve the population crisis by killing other people. It's like, no, I'm gonna make everyone fucking create more people. Fuck you, villain. Ultimate fuck you.
I recognize that it's funny, but it's just so gross to me. Like, because I'm afraid of intimacy, but also because it's so.
And they show dogs fucking.
The whole planet is like, what if they all were forced to fuck each other?
Yeah. No, instead of getting forced to kill each other, they all get horny.
For me, I had a Phil thing where I'm like, I don't think that's how the brain works. I don't think you like fucking and like murdering are the same part of the brain. You just tilt a button towards one end and you murder everyone, and you tilt it towards the other and you have sex with everyone.
I think you're thinking way too much about it. I think that everyone's fucking.
Well, they specifically say like what receptor in the brain is. It's like the R receptor.
I don't know. I just think it's a fucking
R
joke.
for rage and for reproduction. You know.
Okay.
And then I like where. It feels done better. I don't know. It feels so lazy. Like I feel like if another writer wrote this, it'll be done better. Because Gary takes a gun to Bill Gates' head and he's like, "This is for Jack London," and Bill Gates is like, "Who?" And Gary just in the face saying, "Fuck you!" Like
because you never realized the guy that slept with this girlfriend was a spy agent.
Yeah, he thought he was just like another fling.
Yeah, I do like him getting shot like that.
But he's just like, fuck you. Like, I don't know. You could have done.
I liked
more.
that one out of all the fuck yous.
The
I don't know,
myriad of
fuck
fuck
yous,
yous.
And then it ends with a letter from Jack saying, if you're reading this, I'm dead. Always be true to yourself, even though now you're wearing a suit and acting like a proper gentleman.
One thing that I do like is he said, I write these letters every month with my updated will in case I die. And this is the first time I've written a letter to somebody and not just to the government. Like,
and
nice.
you know what? He's like, you're right that he's going like wearing a suit and stuff, and it's like he's not being true to himself. But I think he still is true to a lot of his character.
His attitude's still fuck you, but I just wish he didn't start dressing differently.
But I do think one of the things too is because he got his mom that like regular apartment and not like a mansion. Like, I do think there is still some of that old roots in there. He's not like totally abandoning the working class.
I just because usually the people who come out like the stories where people come out of the ghetto, I guess, and change, they usually still keep true to
The roots.
Their roots, and like they still dress the same way and stuff.
Yeah,
like
it's true. And actually, the last line of dialogue he gets is the guard saying, "Hey, have you heard the cricket score?" And he's like, "Oh, very disappointed, but excellent for the West Indies."
Yeah,
it's like you never watched cricket, you motherfucker.
Yeah, so I was shitting on the fuck yous, but maybe that's why the fuck yous didn't ring true for me, because he's changing himself so other ways. If he was saying fuck you while being like yo swag fuck you, I'll be okay with it more. But it seems weird because it seems like a confused message to me.
He's code switching.
Also, it ends with Gary repeating that helping other people is the only thing that matters. Public service is what gives man real value, which is like the most positive message to ever come out of a Millar book I've ever seen in my life.
And it ends with him being a secret agent, and his boss is like, trouble Moscow, and it's like a off-under mission. So that ends the story.
Woo! So, did you guys? What is for Edgelord August? Was this good, bad, or bad?
Good.
Yeah, good.
I guess on the scale of Edgelord books, I'd say this is definitely on the top.
It's hard
tier.
because
it's not my fucking favorite comic I've ever read, but it's like it's for Edgelord books, it's very good.
Yeah, I don't even think of it though. Really, as like a super Edgelord book. It's like
it's not as Edgelordy as I remembered.
It had moments in it, like the undercurrent of it wasn't Edgelord. Edgelord would have been, I need to destroy the Secret Service because fuck the man.
Yeah,
I don't know. He does yell "fuck you" and then make the whole world fuck each other.
Yeah, like it is edgelord. I would say it's edgelord. It's also like a remake of Wanted, but less edgelordy. It's like a more mainstream version of Wanted.
It's like Edge Rook or Edge Bishop. It's not quite an Edge Lord.
Yeah, exactly. Edge Rook.
It's the Duke of Edge.
It's a knight.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I think we can wrap it up.
Yes.
There.
So thank you guys for listening to Divisive Issues. If you want more, like we talked a lot about Wanted in our Discord, we have custom emojis like the Wanted guy Wesley.
Cool.
And you should join and talk to us about Edgelord stuff and what you'd like to hear, for future episodes, and also join our Facebook group, Oops, I Talk Divisive Issues, and check out the Flying Machine Network, like the flagship show, and it is a new month, so there's a new Patreon one. But yeah, check out all that stuff at flyingmachine.network. Oh, and I forgot to mention it last time, but it was in the show notes. Sly and I were just on They See Me Rollin', so come listen to us play Fiasco on an actual play podcast. And it's really fun. Sly does a lot of great voices like he did in this episode, all the Cockney voices.
Yeah, so if you want to see us rolling, go listen to They See Day Rolling.
No, They See Me.
Someone's being rolling and someone's seeing it.
Someone's seeing and someone's rolling, but yes, it's They See Me Rolling. And it's a great podcast, even the episodes we're not on. But yeah, so that's all I got.
Thank you all for listening to Divisive Issues. I've been fucking the world.
I've been the Kennedy assassination of ruining childhoods.
I've seen all this shit a million times before. Wait, what's that? Oh, man, fuck, that's cool.
And I've been fuck you.
Stay in continuity.